please take a seat. Okay, so we're going to have a little conversation now about Microsoft and what your company has been doing. So maybe you can start and tell us a little bit about that, and then I can ask a few questions.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone. I'm really honored to be here with you. I think for the last 2 years we didn't have a chance to meet in person, so I'm really delighted to join the dinner and to share all of these things which we hear. I will start my presentation and what Microsoft is doing following Mr. Roland Haring's speech. If you heard, he was talking about sustainability. He was talking about digital transformation, implementation of the new technologies. And I think the digital transformation is in the core of everything which we are doing. It was wrongly perceived by the time that the digital transformation is something which we will take and we will put into the digital world. Digital transformation actually is a core part of everything in our life. And this is a very important power which somehow is implemented and give the power to the business, society, government, and to everyone who wants to grow and learn. And why the digital transformation is so important? We all know that digitally mature countries are more likely to be wealthier, successful, competitive, and provide better quality of life. We also know that companies which leverage the new technologies, even cloud computing, everything which Maria Gabriel also spoke about, AI, augmented reality, is more likely to provide sustainability for these companies.
And can I just interrupt a minute? Can I ask people to respect our speaker and just to keep the noise down, please? Thanks. Carry on.
Thank you. Okay. One other thing. In order to introduce that digital transformation, this is very important to have digitally skilled people. And here, when we are talking about digital literacy, we saw in 2 years back how that digital maturity reflects to our lives. All of us needed to move hybrid or remote. And when I'm talking about digital skills, this is not about only digital skills and maturity into the tech and IT. This is about the digital skill citizen. So what I wanted to highlight here is we see so much excellence in the last 2 years. Yes, we're still not back to the normal, but we see how we move to the remote reality. We introduced hybrid work. We at Microsoft introduced philanthropic skilling initiative, which impacted 30 million people in Bulgaria. I've just received the data for Bulgaria. For the last 2 years, when Microsoft introduced this philanthropic skilling initiative, which is free for everyone who wants to learn, we have 44,000 people subscribed and went through that learning path. So, because I know we are running out of the time, I'll make a conclusion. It's not important where are we, but how we are fast accelerate. How we indeed introduce that digital skills to everything which we do. How we understand that the innovation and the creativity is not locked in the borders of the office. As example, I'm working 2 years remotely, and this amazingly increased me, my team, and entire CEE productivity. We also know that accessibility, which is the newest trends and the new philosophy in Microsoft, is something which will create a new motion for the innovation and growth. And what I'll finish with, I think all of us will need to find that sweet spot where the business, the governments, the society will meet together. And we at Microsoft are committed that we will support everyone who wants to go with us on this digital transformation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emma. Yeah, so we are always up against time, but we have time for a few questions. So, a couple or three questions for you. I mean, your industry actually has been a big beneficiary of the pandemic, and you can't say that about
Yes.
many sectors. I mean, in your role, have you noticed, which industries, which sectors have actually benefited? I mean, retail, I guess, is an obvious one with the kind of pandemics or crises. They usually accelerate existing trends. Yeah, so that was already a trend, and so we've seen the move to online retail. But which other sectors would you say have really benefited from this forced kind of transition that's occurred in the last 2 years?
It's obvious also from the stock market that the companies, including my own one, indeed take the opportunity to introduce new technologies, since we see a significant growth into e-commerce, into the telecommunication, in all of the companies which has provided collaboration and communication services and tools. But if you look more deep into that, I think I need to make a mark that healthcare has been in the focus, and it's not only about pharmaceuticals and the research. We all know about the positive benefits of vaccination, and all of the research is done through that time. But healthcare have received a new motion through what we see as clinical and operational analytics, what we see as a telemedicine, what we focus on the elderly care and telecare. Everything is driven by the innovations. We see the augmented reality with making surgeries on the distance. Nonetheless, I also need to make a point for the cybersecurity, because the entire world went digital. We saw a significant increase into the cybersecurity. And the prediction for this calendar year is that ransomware attacks will be doubled. So definitely the companies who put the cybersecurity and the protection on their priority list will need to implement immediately that zero trust protection.
Okay, prepare for more cyber attacks.
Cyber attacks, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about healthcare. I guess education is another sector which the pandemic has had a massive impact. And I guess some people would say actually that the results are kind of mixed. So, it's accelerated some positive changes, and there's been a lot of innovation in both those sectors. But at the same time, the kind of absence of the human, connection, both in healthcare and education, I think has been seen by some as a kind of negative as well, and that maybe some new balance has got to be established. What do you think?
Because when that crisis came at Microsoft, 160 people went on the second day remote. And as our CIO Satya Nadella says, digital transformation starts with the cultural change. So it's not only to put the students and the people to learn remotely, but how you prepare the entire environment to work and to be inclusive to those students. From the other side, we see indeed an increase of everything which went into the digital skills. As I pointed out previously, Microsoft has introduced that global skilling initiative, for which we gathered together with our companies LinkedIn, GitHub, Microsoft itself. And we have implemented in different regions who wanted to follow that, like Baltic Skilling Initiative. There are upcoming skilling initiatives in many of my countries of responsibilities. And we see many people who are oriented to the future-ready skills, upskilling, reskilling, indeed, take the lead and follow that opportunity. Because more or less, we will need to sustain what we've built for these 2 years.
Thanks. So my last question is, what will be the next big thing in the tech landscape? And I really have to ask you about the metaverse. Do people really want to live in a metaverse? Is this, is this a serious proposition? I mean, I don't think it's. Obviously, they don't have the technology to do that properly yet, so it's a long term. But even is that do you think that is the next big thing, or is it something else?
Maybe some people are really tired from the daily usage of the technology, but we need to admit that the technology is in the heart at every person, every business, every government organization right now. And going in that direction, I think the future, and what I also would like to see from the future is the implementation of this technology which we talk about, like data, analytics, AI, augmented reality. And here I'm not talking to see them working for the business. I want to see them working for the society, for the communities. Everything which has been set up to now for the startups, for the entrepreneurship, and now we see all of the corporations presented even here today needed to go back on that entrepreneurship mindset and find new opportunities for sustain. So definitely digital is here, it will sustain, and all of us needs to make sure that we put all of the transparency, trust, and resiliency into that discussion.
Okay, thanks very much, Emma. It's been a real pleasure having you here. Thanks very much for your talk and for answering my questions.
It was a pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thanks.